We have the tremendous chus to be learning brachas daf mem aleph amud beis. Well, we're starting off at the bottom of mem aleph amud aleph. So we're about mem aleph amud aleph, approximately 10 lines from the bottom. So we said that according to the first opinion, everything in the pasuk right chit v'seira is telling me the seder brachas. Which brachas comes first? Eretz chit v'seira. What bracha to make first? Reb Chaim argues, says this bracha, the pasuk is only come to tell me all about shiurim. It's got nothing to do with what bracha you make first. It's nothing to do with that. It's got to do with shiurim. So gemorah said, what are you talking about? Chita. What does chita tell me? This nun. A guy walks into a house and he's holding in his hand his clothes, he's holding his ring. In other words, he's not wearing the clothes like you're supposed to, which would be metamer. But you're holding in your hand. It's immediately tome. But if you're wearing the clothes and you are put the sandals on your feet and you got the ring on your finger, who tame me? You're tame, but everything you're holding is tame. So what's the share? What does it mean? How long do you have? You're wearing this ring. You're wearing these flip-flops. That should remain tahar. Says the gemorah, for however long it takes to eat a pras of chitin. A pras is approximately 3 or 4 eggs in machlekes. How does it take to eat 4 eggs? So we have shiurim out there. Poskim say, the Chasam Sofer says 9 minutes. That's the shiur k'dei achilas pras. Very relevant. Pesach is supposed to eat your matzah, your kazayis matzah in 9 minutes. But whatever it is, it's the amount of time it takes to eat 4 eggs. So you basically, however long it would take you to eat it, multiply that by 8, because 4 eggs is 8 kazesim. An egg is 2 zesim. Chazal says 9 minutes. This is machlekes a bit. Some say the biggest, smaller share is 4 minutes, whatever it is. Okay, that's your share of kedei achilas pras. If you eat it so that amount of time, if you're in this baisa manuga, you're in this house for 9 minutes, boom, you're tome. Everything's tome. But it's talking about a loaf of wheat, not a loaf of barley. But if you have a loaf of barley, that doesn't count. Why? Because it takes a little longer to eat a loaf of barley. Barley bread goes down slower, takes you longer. So you don't have 12 minutes, you've only got 9 minutes. That's what the word chita in the Torah is coming to tell me. Saira, what did we learn from Saira? Now, we're not actually learning this from the pasuk, the din, but the Torah praises Eretz Yisrael that it has all these things, all the shurim that we need. Saira, this none. Etzem k'sair metame b'maga b'masa ve'enim metame b'oil. What does it mean? You got a bone, the size of a barley grain, tiny little bone. Sean, you have a tiny little bone. So what happens if you're carrying it b'maga b'masa? You touch it, or you're carrying it. You tome, if it's the size of a barley, but if you have this barley grain in a house and you walk into the house, you're not tome. Again, you got a bone the size of a barley grain. It's metama if you pick it up, if you're carrying it, you put it in your pocket. If you walk into a house with a bone the size of a grain, you're not tome. What is a share? You walk into the house, you are tome. If it's kabetza, if it's kazayas. If it's kazayas, you walk into the house with a kazayas, 30 grams of bone, you're tome. But if it's only a grain of barley, I don't know, it's like a gram or whatever a grain of barley is, a quarter of a gram, so you're tar. What's the shir of geffen? Geffen. Kedei revius yain l'nazir. Geffen, vines, is a revius of yain l'nazir. If a nazir eats, drinks, a revius of yain, that's the shir of geffen. Te'ena Figs, kagugres leitzah Shabbos. A dried fig, if you carry that size of a dried fig on Shabbos, you're chayiv. It's also to carry the size of a dried fig. That's called carrying. If you carry less than that, you're not chayiv. You've got to have the size of a dried fig. Remind, what's that a remes to Kedistan? Kol klei balabatim shiurin kerimaynim. All the things of the guy carries in his house, we use the she'ir, the size of a remind. It's talking about if there's a hole in it. Okay, we're not going to get into it. It's a long sugya. Eretz Shemen Amr Yesi Bar Bechanina Eretz Shekol Shur Kazesim. Rabbi says all Shurei Torah is Tali in Zayis. We know you have to have a kazayis of matzah, kazayis of yain, kazayis. To have a suda. That's the Zayis. Shekol Shurei Kazesim. Everything is based on the Zayis. Gemorah asks, Kol Shurei, it's like a diet. Everything is Zayis? No, it's not. We just saw a bunch of other things. They're on Zayis. There's Beitza, there's Va'inach, Va'ika Hanach Da'amar. You mentioned all these other things. Ela Eretz, Shurei, Shureya, Kazesim. Most of the shurim of the Torah is totally in the size of an olive. Most of the shurim, you have to have a kazais of matzah, you have to have a kazais of chometz, you have to have a kazais of everything to be chayiv. So, ve'ida, dvash, what's the shir of dvash? Dvash, k'koseves hagasa, b'yom kippurim. Sorry, to be chayiv on Yom Kippur to eat, you have to have dvash. Dvash means dvash tvarim, dates. So you have to have a big date. Gasa, kaseves is a date. On Yom Kippur, to be chayiv, skila, whatever is your chayiv on Yom Kippur, you have to have the amount of a dry date, of a big date. Sorry, on Yom Kippur. Ve'idach, chani shurim behedya miksivi. And ve'idach, now, the other shita. Now that's how Reb Chaim learns all these psukim. What about the mandal that says this has got nothing to do with Shurei Torah? This whole pasuk is telling me what comes first when you make a bracha. So, Hani Shurim Ba'adim Miksivi. He says, "Oh, these Shurim written in the Torah." No, it doesn't say in the Torah the Shur. It just says Chitas Kevin Teirim. It doesn't say this is the shir for Chometz. This is the shir for Yom Kippur. This is the shir for a mace. It doesn't say it. Elamid Rabbanan. It's all midrabanan v'kra ba'asmachta ba'almuhu. Really, it's only rabbinical, and this pasuk is just an asmachta. It's an assist. It helps to learn from here. Okay, Rav Chisda Rav Amnuna. This is already a massive sugya. Rav Chisda Rav Amnuna v'yasi b'sudasa aiskam tamir v'rmayni. So they're sitting down at a meal, and they brought in front of them dates and pomegranates. Shakar of Nuna Borei, Baruch Hitma Boreisha, Baruch. So Rav Huna took this in Baruch, Atami Boreisha. He made the bracha first on the date. Amalei Rav Chisda, Lo Yisvir Le Mar, Hodam Rav Yosef, Vidma Rav Yitzchak, Kalamukdim, Posuk Zeklet Bracha. Why did you first make a bracha on the date? Why did you make a bracha first on the pomegranate? That comes first in the verse. Eretz Chita Sa'ira, wheat, barley, gefen, wine, te'ena, v'rimain. First is rimain, and shemen dvash. Dvash is tamarim. So why do you make a bracha on the tamarim that comes at the end? Amalei, he said to him, zeh sheini la'eretz, v'zeh chamishi la'eretz. It says twice in the pasuk a land of chita sa'ira, a land of shemen dvash. So oil and honey, date honey. So you don't look at what comes first in the pasuk. You look at what is nearer to the word eretz. So the second, the dates is second to the second eretz. That comes before the fifth to the first eretz. Amalei, he said to him, man, Yavle Nagri de Parzla, who would give me legs of metal, steel legs? And I'd walk behind you, I'd be mishamash you, I'd hear your Torah the whole day. Wow, I learned such a great thing from you. Only if I could have metal legs, I could walk behind you all day and all night to learn from you. What a praise. Okay. Itmar. This is already a whole new sugya of Pasa Baba Kisnin about, we're going to see. Massive sugya. Itmar vilif name te'enva novim b'seich hasuda. They bring to a guy dates and grapes b'seich hasuda. In the middle of a meal. You're having a meal, and they bring you dates, grapes. Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, tu the bracha lefnei, and tu the bracha lachrei. You got to make a bracha. You're about to have some grapes in the middle of a meal. It's not part of the meal. You're not eating grapes. That's not your meal. No one goes to a restaurant to order grapes. It's a dessert. It's an appetizer. It's a dessert. It's just something to, to enjoy. Rashi says it's not coming to fill you up. It's not coming to satiate you and to give you energy. You just want to nash. You want to enjoy the grapes or the dates. So you got to make a bracha beforehand. Says Rav Huna, tu the bracha lefneihem ve'ein tu the bracha lachrei. You got to make a bracha before. You don't have to make a bracha after. Why? Because you're going to bench. And the Birchas HaMazon patters you, it relieves you from having to make the bracha after the fruit. V'chein amar Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman says the same thing, tu the bracha lefneihem, ve'in tu the bracha lachrei. You got to make a bracha beforehand, you don't have to make a bracha afterwards. So if you're having a meal, at the end of the meal they bring you a plate of fruit, you got to make a bracha on it. You got to make a bracha on the fruit. But you don't have to make a bracha afterwards, a bar in a fashais, after bracha, because you're benching. Rav Sheshes Amar, Rav Sheshes tun in bracha bein lifnei bein lachrei. You got to make a bracha before, and you've also got to make a bracha after. Same thing. She'en chadav shatan bracha lefana vein to bracha lachrov ela pasa babakistin. There's only one thing that needs a bracha before and doesn't need a bracha after, and that is pasa babakistin. So grapes, any fruit you have, you got to make a bracha before, and you make a bar in a fashais. And then you bench Birchas HaMazon. There's only one type of food that you make that needs a bracha beforehand. You make a bar min mezainis, but you don't have to bench. What is that? That is pas haba b'kisnin bilvad. So what is pas haba b'kisnin? So it seems to be a three-way machlekes. Pas haba b'kisnin, is it a dough that's sweet? Sweet dough. You have a cake. Why isn't it bread? Because the dough itself is nice and sweet. It's a cake. It's not bread. So if you after your meal they bring you out a chocolate cake, you make a bayim, according to this opinion, you make a bayim is very nice, but you don't have to bench. You don't have to make alamichi or main shalish because you're benching. That part is you. The benching part is your possible because but you have to say bayim is nice. So that's the first opinion. We're talking about sweet dough. The flour is not bread. The dough itself is. The second opinion is that it's kissing like you kiss a pocket. It's flour, but inside, you put inside of it fruit. There's nuts, there's Rashi says nuts, and agazim and nuts, and therefore, you don't have a lot of it, you have a little bit, it's very sweet, you have a bit of it, and it's not a meal. It's possible by kisnin, that's how Rashi understands. It's like a pocket with dough inside, with fruit inside. The third opinion is flaky bread, wafery, flaky, pastry type. Pastries, that's possible by kisnin. So, in order to be able to all the shitas, I used to eat with someone's house that you bring out homemade pastry, very sweet pastry, filled with fruit, and that's the holiday. It's pasabah b'kissin. The dough is sweet. It's filled with fruit, with apple strudel, and it's crumbly. So you got all the opinions there. You for sure can. You have to make a bayim in the mezainis, and the Birchas HaMazon patters you. So that's the opinion of. That's the first opinion over here. This opinion is being chayrek on Reb Chaim. Why? The Reb Chaim. Pas b'teres kol minei meichel. Bread exonerates you from every food you eat. V'yayin paita kol minei mashkin. And drinking wine, the bracha on the wine relieves you from making a bracha on any other drink. So you're about to drink some apple juice and some wine, you make a bracha on wine, and now even though you said Bari Piagofen, you didn't say Shakol, you say Bari Piagofen, you don't have to make a bracha now Shakol on your apple juice. So that's Reb Chia's opinion. Rav Papa, so says Rav Papa, Hilchasa, Harry Paskin, Dvarim abayim machmas asuda b'taycha asuda, something you eat because of the meal. And you're eating it in the meal. Ein tu bracha, loy lifneim, v'loy lachrayim. You don't have to make a bracha, not before and not after. So anything you're eating in the meal, because of the meal, you don't need to make a bracha, not before and not after. Meaning what? So says Rashi, there's a big machlekes Rashi Taisis, maybe we'll get a chance to see. Rashi says, the heart of the sugya, what's going on over here? Anything you eat, machmas asuda, means anything you eat with the bread. You dip your bread in the hummus, or you put your salami on the bread, you eat it together. That's called machmas asuda. And it's classic tafel, ikva tafel. There's the main thing you're eating, and there's something that's tafel. So you make a bracha on the bread, and you have a burger. You make a bracha on the bread. You don't have to make a bracha on the meat. Because it's tafel. Ikva tafel, you say in the bread, not the meat. But let's say you decide to have in the middle of your meal cabbage salad without bread. You have to say Adam on that. That's not l'lafas zapas. That's not part of the meal. In other words, according to Rashi, the meal means anything you're eating with the bread. A burger with the bread, a salami sandwich with the bread. You have a tuna sandwich, you don't have to make a shakol on the tuna. Because it's machmas suda b'teicha suda. So it says the gemorah, ain't in the bracha lo yifnei v'lo rachem. V'shaloi machmas suda, if it's not because of the suda, b'teicha suda, you're having fruit at the end of the meal, you're not having fruit to fill you up, you're not eating the fruit now to be satiated, and according to Rashi, you're not eating it with the bread. No one has an apple sandwich. I've never seen an apple sandwich before, right? In that case, so you got to make a bracha before, you got to say Bayer Priya 8 on the apple, but the Birchas HaMazon relieves you, for you don't have to make a Bayer Nefashis. That's how Rashi understands. Taisus argues, and Taisus says, anything you eat in the meal doesn't mean stuff, it's not because of ikva tafel. According to Rashi, the sugya is ikva tafel. Taisus says, what do you mean? There's a mission that says ikva tafel. Why would you need to mention this here? What's the Havamina not like that? There's a Havamina that if you have a pastrami sandwich, you got to make a shakol. It's ikva tafel. So maybe it's because they're both ikka, according to Rashi. It's not like it's the meat's tafel. They're both ikka. You want both. It's not just you want to have the bread. But says Taisus, what's going on over here? Anything you have in the meal to fill you up, that's called a suda. That's called a meal. Your cabbage salad is part of the meal. You don't have to make a shakol or a boy priyadama and v'chein again, of course. That's the minute. You make bread and you potter from everything. You have a salad. You have a piece of chicken by itself. You don't start making brachas on everything in the meal. The Almighty parts you from everything. So what are we talking about here then, according to Taisus? Anything that's not part of the meal. You have, at the end of the meal, you have ice cream. That's not part of the meal. You're not having it to fill you up. You have ice cream. That's not part of the meal. That's a dessert. Many times you don't eat ice cream. No one sits down and has a meal of ice cream. Maybe now you do, but normally most people don't have an ice cream meal. They don't go to the store and say, I want an ice cream meal. But, okay, that's the first two mahalchim. That's the first two sugyas. The Gemara carries on, according to Rav Papa. La'acha suda, after the meal, we're going to have to see what Rashi says of it. La'acha suda, to nibracha beneftem by nachraim. The basic explanation is if you eat something after the meal, you've got to make a bracha before and after. So what's going on over here? Take a look in the third bottom line in Rashi. Rashi says, Dvarim hariginin lovay achar suda. That's the gears that Rashi had. Things that you usually eat after the meal, so things you normally eat after the meal. You finish your meal, you sit on the couch, and you have an apple, right? You don't normally have it part of the meal. You sit on the couch and you have a coffee and cake. So now if you had it in the middle of the meal, at the end of the meal, so tunim bracha beneftem ben achreim, you have to make a bracha beforehand. Rashi says, tunim bracha ben lefanav, the light tefillin, who could Rashi is very basic. Why do you have to make a bracha on the apple? Because it's got nothing to do with the bread. I'm not eating with the bread, I'm having an apple now. It's not toffel to the bread. I ate the bread half an hour ago. Rashi says a chiddush. The Birchas HaMazon won't pater you for the brain of of the apple. Why? Because the lav mezayninu, it's not there to satiate you. It's not there to fill you up, it's not part of the meal. So according to Rashi, a meal is something you eat to fill you up, to give you sustenance. If you're having a fruit afterwards or ice cream, that's just for fun. That's not part of a meal, and therefore you have to make a bracha before and a bracha afterwards. Even if it's in the meal, Rashi says. You're going to make a bracha hamazon afterwards. You're going to bench, but according to this opinion, you have ice cream now. You're going to make a shakol and a bari nefashos afterwards. It says the gemorah. Okay, before we see this further, well, let's take a look at Taisus. Ala pasa baba kisnin. Very important Taisus. Says Taisus, and in the fourth Taisus says, pasa baba kisnin, the toin bracha lefanav, and toin bracha la'acharav. You got to make a bracha before, but you don't have to make a bracha afterwards. Why? It's just like rice. Rice, you say, minimum zaynas, and afterwards you say, you don't say alamechia, right? Okay, but since you put in a lot of nuts in this fruit in this cake, according to Rashi, pasaba b'kisnin is talking about not in the Suda. It's talking about even if you eat pasaba b'kisnin after the Suda, you have a pie, your apple pie, after the Suda. What bracha do you make? You say Meir bin Mezaynais, and you don't say Alamechia. You say Bar Nefashais. It's not Alamechia. It's not Alamechia. It's not bracha mein shalish. Since there's tons of fruit in it, this pasaba b'kisnin, it's a fruity fruit pie. Baraka is filled with cheese, whatever. The main thing is cheese. So you don't have to say Alamechia according to Rashi. Tais says it doesn't seem good to me. Why? We said before that anything that has the 5 minim, Eretz Chitasai or whatever it is, you got to say bracha mein shalish. You got to do Alamechia. Says it's slach. That's not true. If you look at the gears over there, take a look at Messiah Shas. He brings it. It actually says over there you got to make a bar minim zaynus. It doesn't say mein shalish. So it's a bit of a gears. Obviously, Tais had a gears, so you say bar mein shalish, but we don't have that gears. V'ayid, and certainly Rashi didn't have that gears. V'ayid, amayka kisnin, leminayim oiz v'duchan. Why is he talking about here pasaba b'kisnin? Talking about rice. Rice is the same thing. You got to say bar minim zaynus. You say bar nefashes. So, okay, so what are we talking about here? We're talking about eating your Danish, your nuts Danish, in the meal before you bench. According to Taisus, if you eat your Danish at the end of the meal before you bench, the benching patters you. You got to say Bari Minim Zaynis, but benching will patter you. That's Taisus. Take a look at the next Taisus. Hilchasa. Dvarim abayim beteicha suda machmas asuda bishak conscious lelavas ben esapas. Rashi said, we mentioned this, the whole sugi is talking about dips, a sandwich, a burger with the bread. Ain't doing bracha tavalut failure. The reason why you don't make a bracha is because it's tough. V'loin here, they said, I don't like it. It's a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah. If that's the case, it says, my kamashman, what are you teaching me? It's a Mishnah, the bracha of the ikapat is a tafel. Okay, there's another kasha over here. So take a look at the end of this Taisvus. Taisvus says, this is where he argues in Rashi's Girsa. He says, according to Rashi, things that are ruggle to come after the Suda, if you eat it in the Suda, you potter. Pirish Rashi go my Paris. If you bring your fruit in the middle of the meal, but not to eat with the bread, right? The last felininu. That's how Rashi understands gemorah. Very basic. The whole sugi according to Rashi is ikav. So if you're having ice cream, it's not tafel to the bread. You don't eat it with bread. No one eats ice cream with bread. The lav mazaninu. So why does benching not pati ice cream? Rashi says the lav mazaninu. It's not food. It's not satiating. That's Rav Shesh's opinion above. The says that can't be pshain of Papa. This is la halacha, and we don't paskin like that. We paskin like Rav Nachman Rav Huna, not like Rav Sheshes. So why would we paskin? Why would Rav Papa say the halacha is you potter? That's not his din. That would be like shalik halacha. Why would Rav Papa say shalik halacha? So I don't really understand places because there's many times I think that the Gemara says the hilchasa da 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 da, right? Even though the klalei psak we wouldn't go like that. They're saying the klali psak is we don't pass him like this. Why is the Papa saying that's the ilchasa? So first of all, it's not 3 versus 1. That's all svara is 2 against 1. If Rav Papa says that's halacha, so it's now not 2 against 1, it's 2 against 2. But Rav Papa could be saying that the halacha is not like that klal psak. I think we see that all over Shas, that there's normally klal psak. You normally pass like Hillel, not like Shammai. The Gemara says in this case we pass like Shammai. There's exceptions to every rule. Rav Papa could be saying that's the exception. That's how Rashi understands it. Okay, la'achra suda. It's also very important thesis, but we're running out of time. We'll quickly see it. Says thesis, but you should know. Va'achshav, what happens nowadays? So according to this opinion, you got to make a brain of fash. You have ice cream in the middle of the meal. You have an apple at the end of your meal. You got to say brain of fash on your apple. Says thesis, va'achshav, no. Nowadays it's different. Ein lanu din zeh. Even though this is the halacha according to thesis, it doesn't apply. Nowadays, until you've benched, people still eat bread. For some reason, back in those days, the bread got stale, maybe, I don't know. They had bread, they removed the bread. Now you had your dessert, so you had to say brain of fashes. But nowadays, until you're benched, you'll still eat bread. Take a look, you'll see. You're having your dessert, all of a sudden someone brings out another piece of bread, something else, you'll have something else. He says, even if nowadays you're eating fruit, you're having ice cream, if your balabas now brings out a tuna sandwich, you're going to have the tuna sandwich, you're going to eat the bread. You didn't say, that's it, I'm done with the bread. You're never done with the bread. Probably because our bread now tastes fantastic, and you can always have some nice sweet challah, it tastes delicious. You're never like, that's it, I'm not touching bread anymore. Reb Chaim psak of Papa, we pass like this of Papa, so therefore, according to Tosfos, we pass like of Papa that says you have to make a brain of fashes before you have your ice cream. You got to say before you have your apples. You don't make a brain of fashes, even though the mashmais of Papa is you would, but he says you don't say brain of fashes. Why? Because you still have intention to eat bread if the bread comes. It's still part of the Suda. Have a wonderful day, Shkoyach.